Hello guys, my name is Aman Ahmed. I'm a legal intern at Lexis and Company, and I'm from Faculty of Law, second year, pursuing 3 years law. So the topic of today's video is the salient features that are in Constitution, or the about our Indian Constitution is specifically recognized. So the Constitution of India is a very dynamic creation of lawmakers. The Constitution of India, as well as, is a supreme law of the country, and every citizen of the country has to abide by this Constitution. So first and the foremost, as we all know, it is the lengthiest and the bulkiest constitution of the world. Yes, the Indian Constitution is one of the lengthiest constitution. There are 12 schedules and 448 articles, and the amendment are always taking place. And the Indian Constitution had incorporated various articles taking by inspiration from the various constitution of the world. As we all know, India is a very diverse country. All sorts of people live here with various religion, caste, creed, and culture. And it was necessary to draft a long constitution incorporating various provision instead of keeping it ambiguous and prone to conflicts. So the parent document for adopting the Indian Constitution was the Government of India Act 1935, for most of which was copied in our new constitution, and the document itself was very lengthy. So the constitution makers found it necessary to incorporate various provisions to provide legal attention to states like Nagaland, Mizoram, and Assam. So various provisions were also incorporated to uplift the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe, and specifically mentioning their rights and their obligation was also written in the constitution, and how the executive and legislative authority are going to safeguard it. So the our constitution has provided for the establishment of sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic. Yes, said the secular word was added later on, and some of these words were amended by the 46th Amendment 1976 during the emergency period. They were added later on, but our constitution constitutes this as the basic feature. For example, the preamble of our constitution provides India to be sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic. There are also various other terms in the preamble which ensures equality and protect people. So the various other items are justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, which are also sub-categorized into various aspects. So the sovereignty is the utmost important. India cannot be dependent. No other country can impose any obligation of India. India is free to take decision of itself, unlike the colonial times. So the term sovereignty is the backbone of our constitution that protects the authority of the people. So sovereignty is an essential factor of every state. The term sovereignty means supreme, absolute, and uncontrolled power by any state government. Obviously, our country will not go in a war against other country in sovereignty, but other country has to respect our sovereignty, and we will also respect other country's sovereignty. So we also preach the slogan "No first use of the nuclear weapons." This is a concept of sovereignty also. Other countries should not violate our sovereignty, and so will no, and so will we not. So the sovereignty of India is two types. First is internal sovereignty, and the states have the power to govern themselves and make laws in the certain matters. Even the state legislature can make laws. Even the village, the local level government can make laws for themselves and rule and tell what sort of rule they want to be ruled by. And there is external sovereignty. The government is the supreme authority and can acquire or cede any part of the territory for proper reason. To understand more of this aspect, you have to read the Beruberi Union of the India Act to tell how the property can be acquired or ceded. Constitutional amendment is also required, but in some cases, constitutional amendment is not required. As for example, the recent 100 constitution amendment, I think, in by which Bangladesh was given territory and India got also some territory. So these are some of the examples of external sovereignty. Next is secularism. It is mandatory to incorporate the term to promote peace between various communities in a country. Secularism promotes the development and unity of various religions. So the term secular was added by the 46th Amendment of the Preamble. In the case of S.R. Bomai versus Union of India, it was held that in the matters of state, religion has no place and India has no specific religion. This was also stated in the constitution also, that there will be no dominant constitution, and the state cannot have a religion for itself. So in the famous case of Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan, also held that a state shall not discriminate against any citizen on the ground of religion. So the India is a democratic. So the democracy is as a word itself is mentioned. So it is an ancient concept, and it tells the people have the power to govern, and the people are the ultimate authority. The representative form of government is suitable for governing our country due to the huge population. In the case of Mohan Lal Tripathi versus DM district magistrate, the meaning of the term democracy was discussed, and according to which it was held that democracy is a concept of political philosophy of an individual which is practiced by many nations, that is culturally advanced and political mature. We are resorting to governance by representatives of the people elected directly or indirectly. The next point is socialist. As socialist, the socialism provides unity among the people, ensures the welfare of the people. The socialist was incorporated also by the 42nd Amendment Act. Although the constitution had many aspects of socialism, like example the Balish Panchayat, due to the predominance of Gandhiji and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, this socialism concept was emphasized in many aspects in the constitution, but the socialist word was specifically not mentioned. So the Indira Gandhi emergency time, she felt the need of specifically adding the term socialist. So by the 42nd Amendment Act, the socialist term was added, and according to the term, socialist used to lessen the inequalities in income and in status and provide equality of opportunity and facilities. And if we talk about now is the time of a topic of republic. The concept of republic was borrowed by the constitution of France. So the term republic provides the people power to elect their own representatives. So the term republic is a basis of our constitution and ensured there will be no hereditary rulers that was happening in the colonial era and the Mughal time, and even before that, before that period, and also ensure that the elections would happen in the country from time to time, that is 5 years in our country. So the president of India is an elected head, but he is made a nominal head for a fixed period of time. So if we talk about now the courts aspect, is the justice part that is mentioned. So there are three types of justice. If we talk about the social justice, economic and political, the social justice provides equal treatment of citizens and promote the rule of law, and economic justice provides any kind of discrimination or disparity that is happening in income and wealth. So this is one of the aspect of the Marxist concept, but it is not followed to that extent, to that extreme end. A mediocre time of economic justice is followed in India, and there is political justice which provides all citizens to participate in the political fighting. So the liberty and fraternity is also provided by the Indian Constitution. The term was taken by the French Revolution, in which there were many involving of ideas by which a country goes forward. So India has a parliamentary form of government. There are bicameral legislature in our country, but there is no unicameral legislature as in Norway. So the lawmaking power is easy in the unicameral legislature, but the bicameral legislature is effective as there are two set of houses. So there will be a more check and balances, and there can be no arbitrary power in the country. So Article 74 and 75 is concerned with the parliamentary system at the center, and 163 and 164 is concerned with the parliamentary system at the state. So Article 74 also establishes COMI, Council of Ministers, and makes the and with the Prime Minister and Council of Minister can aid and advise the President. Or the next is constitution is not rigid or not flexible. It's a mix of both, a unique blend, if we can say that. So constitution, there is one of the reason for it lengthiness also. The famous example of the rigid constitution is the Constitution of USA, and it is known as rigid constitution as the amendment process is very difficult. The Indian constitution is not very difficult to amend as the Constitution of USA. It has gone through 106 or 4 amendment so far, but there are certain steps to be satisfied before bringing in the amendment. So thus the Constitution of India is a unique blend of rigidity and flexibility. So the next is fundamental right. As in the case of USA, there are Bill of Right, but in India, fundamental right is already incorporated in our constitution, by which we can say the Article 14, 15, and the 19 and 21. There are the bulwark of the constitution. The Article 21, one of the most amended article of the constitution, it provides all sorts of rights to the citizen. Even the right to privacy in the Puttaswamy judgment was also the right to die with dignity was also included in the Article 21. So Article 21 carries a heavy weight, and if our fundamentals are violated, we have the right of constitutional remedies, which is given in Article 32 by Supreme Court and Article 2 to 6 by High Court. 5 types of writs are there: habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, quo warranto, and certiorari. I have made a dedicated video on this topic. if you can want, you can watch it. So guys, please remember this video. Before concluding, I want to say that this does not violate any guidelines of our conduct